Looking at lesson 3 in geometry. Going to talk about rays and angles in this lesson. Starting with rays. A ray is simply a part of a line that starts at an endpoint and extends infinitely in one direction. So we start in point A, and it goes infinitely in the direction of B. How you label a ray is like so. If you label it like this, that's a line segment. That's not what we have here. And you also want to put the arrow in the direction that it's going infinite. So since B is the infinite side, you put the arrow on that side. Okay? But this would be wrong, and this would be wrong because it doesn't go infinite both directions. So this is your correct way to label a ray. If you have two rays starting at the same endpoint and going the opposite direction, they create a line, but that is known as opposite rays. So endpoint Y is the endpoint for Z and X, and then they extend opposite directions, therefore opposite rays, labeled here. And then notice I labeled YX and YZ. The arrow is on the same part of the line that extends infinite. So that's a ray. Now an angle is simply two rays with a common endpoint. So right here we have ray BA and we have ray BC, and they have the common endpoint of B. Well, when they connect, they form an angle right here. Now there's different ways to label the angle, or write it down. You could write it angle, this is a little angle sign, angle ABC, CBA, or there's a 1 here, so you could call it angle 1. You could not call it angle BAC. That would not work. Notice B is central between the points. It has to be that way because that has to show where the angle actually is. But that is the definition of an angle. In example 1, it says name 3 rays in this diagram. Well, this is very easy. You would label SP. Oops. You have SQ, and you have SR. Hopefully all this is pretty self-explanatory. 3 angles. You could have angle PSQ. Oops. You could have angle PSR. You could have angle 1, angle 2, so on. There's a lot of different angles you have there. Third question, could PSQ be referred to as S? Well, no, PSQ could not be referred to as S because S could encompass all that. It could be PSR. So therefore, no would be the answer. Very basic stuff. Now some types of angles. Acute angles. I know y'all have heard this before, so I'm going to go quick. Acute angles is between 0 and 90 degrees. Obtuse angles between 90 and 180. Right angles is 90 degrees, and straight angles is 180 degrees. And most of y'all know those angles, so that's we're going to move on in the lesson. Postulate 4, angle addition postulate, says, okay, we got this here. Angle ABD plus angle DBC equals angle ABC. It's as easy as it looks. So if this is angle 30, or if this angle is 35 and this angle is 40, then the whole angle, angle ABC, would be 75. Very easy. Example 3 says, okay, RST is 22, TS, I think that's U, is 69. What is the measure of RSU? Well, you would simply add those together. That would be 91 degrees. They don't want you to classify the angle. So you're not done yet. Classify would be obtuse because it's between 90 and 180. And then the last definition it goes over is bisecting. Bisecting is simply when it cuts an angle in half, when a ray cuts an angle in half. Just like we had midpoint for a line, bisecting is basically midpoint for an angle. So right here we have ray BC bisects angle ABD. So therefore, if this was 30, that would mean this angle would also be 30. It would be the same exact measure. Example 4, we can do this really quick. I think it just wants to know, let's see, it wants to know what is the measure of CBE. All right, what's the measure of CBE? So first, let's find CBE. It's right there. And one key piece of information that I didn't write down that it gives us is BC bisects ABD. BC bisects ABD. So therefore, we know ABC is 44. So this angle is also 44. So we know part of angle CBE, what we're looking for here, 44. Now it gives this tick mark, which means it's congruent to this angle. So this one's 23, so therefore that one's 23. So you just add 44 and 23. 44 plus 23 is 67 degrees, an acute angle. And that's all that is in lesson 3.